previous chapter, Slayer and his crew lost the girl to the pigmen. Consequently, they tried their best to catch up to the pigs while also dealing with the endless numbers of pigmen obstructing their path. But unfortunately for them, the pig that had abducted the girl was fast and familiar with the place, so catching up to it was close to impossible. With this, they didn't have a choice but to change their approach, and so they decided to hide from the horde first. Following their decision to hide, they devised a plan. Slayer had to transform into a pigman to gather information on the girl's location. Once they obtained the necessary information, Faye and Luna created a ruckus in the middle of the village. They pretended they had finally rescued the girl. With this diversion, the horde's attention was all on the two, allowing Slayer to easily reach the girl and successfully save her from capture. After that, they immediately run towards the village exit. However, the horde just wouldn't let them be, chasing them relentlessly, and seeing that the boars were closing in, Slayer and his crew consumed a pill that enhanced their speed. Consequently, they easily dodged the boars' attacks and successfully left the village, which Faye thought they could finally rest. But to his surprise, the game upped the difficulty, as the horde of boars continued to chase them, tossing a large number of boars in the air just to catch up. With this escalation, they immediately realized that their encounter with these monsters was just getting started. Now on to the next part. Slayer realized it wasn't the time to be surprised, so he ordered them to continue running, which was a smart decision, as the pigmen easily caught up to them, after they instantly recovered from the crash as if it was light work. With this, they suddenly felt like they were in a completely different game, where they had to run from hordes of monsters endlessly, while a perfectly lined up coins mysteriously emerged from nowhere, and obstacles hovered on their path as well. But fortunately for them, this ordeal didn't last long, as they encountered a bird in their path, which they instinctively mounted it, as they knew this stupid-looking bird had the spirit to run. With this, they managed to distance themselves from the horde of pigs, and so they were thankful for the bird, which the girl even called Mr. Duck. And now that they don't see any pigmen for miles, they had time to stroll without haste and enjoy the magnificent view. In turn, the girl appreciated the beautiful lake, and so she asked Slayer if she could take a look, to which Slayer was about to refuse, considering the drastic changes in the game. But before he could, Faye supported the girl's wish. He also suggested to Slayer to take a break since they needed to recover. Even Luna echoed this, pointing out that it might trigger a hidden quest given it was an NPC's wish. Surprisingly, Slayer found this reasonable, and considering they were about 30 minutes away from the pigmen, he agreed, permitting a 15-minute break to recover their conditions. This decision brought happiness to the group. With this, the girl could finally experience a normal happy life like she used to, playing with Faye in the lake without a care in the world. Meanwhile, Luna sorted her inventory, preparing for unexpected battles ahead. After finishing, the girl approached Luna and asked to play with her and her brother Faye, which Luna politely declined, and the girl respected her wishes. However, before she could continue playing leisurely, she noticed that her big sister Luna seemed bothered by something. So, she stayed with Luna, as she wanted to help her feel happier. To do this, she immediately knelt in front of her, held her hand, and used the power of light, and not long after, a bright light appeared, blinding Luna, and the next thing she saw after opening her eyes was a familiar face calling out to her, and that beautiful person is none other than her mother, brightly smiling, while telling her to stop standing idly, as her father would bring them to her favorite playground today. However, Luna couldn't move, as she was captivated by her mother's warm smile, an image she hadn't seen for quite some time, and therefore, tears rushed down Luna's face, touched by what she had witnessed, while the girl, on the other hand, mistook her tears as a result of sorrow, so she immediately apologized to Luna, explaining that she had clearly prayed for a good memory, but it seemed that she had made a mistake, as Luna was now crying, to which Luna clarified that she didn't fail. In fact, she was thankful for the gift she had given her. With this, it was evident that this girl is really something else, so Luna told her not to worry as she did an amazing job, and this cute interaction caught the attention of Faye, as he overheard that Luna was calling the girl special, so Faye immediately wanted to try it for himself, which the girl was glad to be of service, and so she did exactly what she had previously done, using the power of the holy light to show Faye a happy memory. In turn, Faye found himself back to the moment where he and his brother were eating, a simple memory, but they were complete, so he couldn't help himself but to look at them longer than he should have, which his brothers had took notice of, so Faye had to eat to not look weird in front of them, while he just continued to listen to his brothers talk about their responsibilities. where Luli tells Hani Xiao that he doesn't have to work so many jobs anymore as he's about to start working. But Hani Xiao is stubborn, unwilling to rest as he is still the oldest of the brothers. With this, the brothers were just bickering back and forth, while Ah Fei found himself unable to control his tears from coming out, signifying that he was happy to witness such a nostalgic sight. But since he can't let himself be seen crying in front of the girl, he hurriedly gets up and just dives to the lake to cry some more. Meanwhile, Slayer, on the other hand, was up in the tree, witnessing everything that had transpired, so he wasn't surprised that the girl had climbed up to the tree to approach him. Still, he nonchalantly asked her to explain herself, but the girl couldn't respond so easily as she was busy trying her best not to fall from such heights. But as soon as she got a steady footing, she immediately asked Slayer if he had something in mind, since he always seemed gloomy to her. But having seen everything, Slayer knew exactly what the girl wanted to do, so he instantly rejected her proposal even before she could say it, telling her that he doesn't need to recall anything, so she should go. This confused the girl, as she didn't understand why he didn't want to relive a good memory like the others, so she asked Slayer about it, to which he explained that he doesn't need it because if he keeps looking back, his pace of moving forward will slow down. Surprisingly, this response impressed the girl, as she couldn't help but admire Slayer for it, so even though she didn't fully understand it, she felt it must be something very awesome. In turn, this made her feel safe around him, so she promptly opened up to him, telling him that she just feels so relieved when she is beside them, since she lost her parents when she was young. It was the villagers who raised her, that's why she is very grateful for the kindness and help offered by others. And therefore, she prays to the holy light 100 times a day for everyone who has been kind to her. But, even with this, she couldn't understand why everyone still encounters such misfortune, so she couldn't help but think that it might be because she wasn't good enough. And seeing such a sweet child be burdened with all that had happened, Slayer's brotherly instinct kicked in, as he didn't hesitate to comfort her, telling her that she doesn't have to feel that way, as she already did very well, and if he were her age and met with a similar situation as she had, he might not even be as brave as she was. And these words coming from Slayer immediately uplifted the girl's spirit, as it meant everything to her since she looks up to him. In turn, she asked Slayer if what he said were true, if she could also become as great as he is in the future, strong enough to protect those she wanted to protect. To Slayer's surprise, he found himself smiling, as he couldn't help but see a resemblance between his brother and this little girl. So, he answered her confidently that she will definitely be able to protect everyone. After that, the time had come for them to leave the place, so they did just that. As they walked, the girl felt safer with Slayer, so she held onto his clothes, which made her blush a bit out of embarrassment. Surprisingly, this triggered a random achievement to upgrade their task, and now, not only did they have to safely deliver the little girl to the holy temple, but they also had to defeat the Pig King. Consequently, the difficulty has also increased, as the system heavily warned them that if the little girl was intercepted midway, the task would fail, and if the Pig King was not defeated in the end, the task would also fail, which was ominous to say the least. And so they immediately ran towards the holy temple. However, the pigmen persisted and successfully caught up to Slayer's group once again, which Luna didn't hesitate to obliterate the ones who got closer. Unfortunately, this didn't buy them as much time as expected, as the pigmen were now recovering at a faster rate, and so they had no choice but to keep running. However, the holy temple was still 50 kilometers away, and with no room for rest, their stamina drained faster than normal, and being a mage class, Ah Fei was the first to tire out, and even though he took a potion to recover, the window of opportunity that opened while he was recovering was enough for one of the pigmen to strike for a kill. Luckily for him, Slayer's keen eyes saved Ah Fei in the nick of time, but as Luna pointed out, the pigman's recovery rate was much faster, and so it instantly recovered, and was able to counter-attack, catching Slayer off guard, so he was unable to defend at the right time. And seeing his brother hurt, Ah Fei was pissed, so he made sure to cook up that pig extra crispy. After that, they continued their run, but Ah Fei couldn't help but feel sorry, so he suggested holding the pigmen back to give his brother time to recover. However, Slayer disagreed, as he knew all too well that once they stopped, they would be surrounded, and that could mean the end for them. So, they pressed on. A few moments later, they were now only 20 kilometers away from the holy temple. However, exhaustion had taken its toll on all of them. Not only that, their only path led through a narrow gorge, which was a perfect place to hinder the numbers of pigmen. But Slayer couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right, as he doubted himself, wondering if he was mistaken, sensing that the number of pigmen had lessened. But despite this uncertainty, they don't have any other choice, so they ran straight into the gorge, and with its limited width, it was indeed effective, as they felt less pressure. They even covered 5 kilometers without trouble, which delighted Afe. But Luna and Slayer, on the other hand, were now certain that the number of pigmen had significantly decreased, by roughly 40%, and so they readied themselves for an ambush up ahead. And just as they had anticipated, when they were nearing the exit of the gorge, the light suddenly vanished, as the Pig King revealed itself, blocking their exit, and now they couldn't escape any longer. With this, the Pig King couldn't help but laugh. Still, Slayer wouldn't give up just like that. Therefore, with a composed look, he told the girl to find a spot to hide behind them. But the problem was, there wasn't much space to hide as they were heavily cornered, and so not a moment passed. The pigmen simultaneously threw themselves at them, which the group responded in kind, as they didn't hesitate to unleash everything they had, as they were more serious about protecting the little girl than ever before. Meanwhile, the girl could only close her eyes in fear. However, she had been afraid for far too long. Therefore, she gathered all her wits to stop shivering and open her eyes, as she decided that she wouldn't be a coward this time, believing that the holy light would protect them. Meanwhile, where the sun shines bright, the Temple of the Holy Light stood tall in its elegant and magnificent structure. Inside of it, the president of the said place was briefing its followers about the urgent need to quickly find the hosts of the Holy Light, as the forces of darkness have become more and more powerful. While the Holy Light is dispelling the darkness, it is also extinguishing itself. With this, the Holy Light requires a large number of hosts. But before he could continue, one of his men interrupted him to report that a large number of pigmen have gathered near the valley to the east. Hearing such a thing made his face sour, as this was heresy to him. How dare they challenge the majesty of the Holy Light? With this, he immediately ordered his men to set out to extinguish the darkness. And so they marched down on the tall steps of the temple to confront the heretics. To their surprise, even before they could complete their descent, a little pig girl approached them panting, as it seemed to be in need of help. The president, however, could only look at it with disdain, as he believed in the absolute. So, even though the little pig seemed innocent, he showed no sign of mercy, believing that the pig had already consorted with darkness as it was a monster, and the fact that it was now polluting the temple of the Holy Light was a greater sin. So he was more than willing to baptize it with his holy light. But before he could proceed, the little pig removed her mask, revealing a human little girl underneath. Immediately, he halted his skill and listened to the girl's story. And so, she managed to explain to the president what happened to her village and how she got here. However, the 3 adventurers with her are still trapped in the gorge, so she pleaded with him to save them. With this, shock could be seen on the president's face as he couldn't believe what he heard. This girl being a host of the Holy Light. In response, he immediately picked her up, and was more delighted to know that she was indeed a host of the Holy Light, and therefore a smile appeared on his face as he comforted the girl. Recognizing that she must have encountered many dangers along the way, he asked if it had been tough on her, to which she responded that everything was fine, as she was guided by the Holy Light, which the president was pleased to hear. So he proceeded to ask the girl if she would be willing to become part of the Holy Light, to make the light shine even brighter to illuminate even more darkness, which the girl was unsure on what to respond as she struggled to comprehend what the president meant. Meanwhile, Slayer and his group continued to battle the pigs. However, with each and every damage they make, it only enhanced the pigmen's regeneration rate, becoming faster and faster, and so they were left exhausted and was nearing defeat. And soon Slayer noticed the absence of the girl, so he immediately inquired with the others, but they were equally clueless. And looking at the pig's reaction, it doesn't seem that the pigman had her either. Therefore, it could only mean that she had run off to the holy temple alone. And this was more evident, as the pigmen started to ignore them and just went straight towards the holy temple. Even the Pig King didn't hesitate to go to where the girl was. With this, Slayer's group could only hope that the girl was now at the holy temple, safe and sound. Still, they couldn't rest without seeing it first with their own eyes. So, they tried to quickly outrun the pigs to find the girl before the pigs could. Not a moment later, they arrived at the Temple of Holy Light. There they witnessed that the girl was already in the hands of the president. In turn, the Pig King could only scream in rage. However, it seems that even Slayer and his group couldn't fathom what they were looking at, and dread could only be seen on their faces. as the game took a sick twist, revealing that the girl's head was now gone, while the president was all bloodied, suggesting that he had consumed the girl on the spot, and was delighted as he had obtained some holy light to power the light even more, while showing no sign of guilt, believing that the girl should take pride as she had now become one with the holy light, making the light even more dazzling because of her.